Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to the Friday night live stream, the Georgia Shooting Connection. I hope everybody's had a good week. I hope y'all been praying for our friends down in Florida, and been rough. Now we need to be praying for our friends over in North Carolina as well. That's a pretty bad storm. So we'll let Kyle start us off. What's up, brother?
Thank you for calling Georgia Shooting Connection. You have reached the front counter in beautiful downtown Georgia. Thank you. That ain't me.
It was me. I fixed it.
What a week, everybody. I'm just beat. I'm exhausted. Had to get home from work and scramble and rush, shut the pool down because of this storm and everything, and then it ended up going south, and it's just dog's been waking me up at 3 a.m, and then you can't go back to sleep. It's been one of those weeks, and I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad that all of you can be here with us to enjoy the misery. Go ahead, Gene. What you got, brother?
I don't have anything. What are you talking about?
He's got no thing.
Hey,
He's got no thing.
welcome everybody. Jamie, thanks for having me again. I greatly appreciate it. Got this illustrious panel, rockin' side chat. This week, stayed busy working, home working, more home working. Oh, this shooting and reloading stuff just never ends, I'm telling you.
Welcome to the party,
Thankfully.
pal.
Walter, what you got?
Well, looks like I'm the only one over here representing the left side, and I do mean left here in California. Can't get any more left than this. Gee, many Christmas. There's so much going on. But anyway, thanks for the invitation to come and participate, you guys. Really appreciate it. Notice the side chat. A lot of our friends are in there rocking and rolling already. I got a couple videos knocked out this week. I did one yesterday that's going to take some revisiting. There was a new piece from Lee for the APP press that I tried out, and I was having a little bit of an issue with my personal press, and I got all kinds of comments about that and about depriming in general. So I got to get that. I got a part coming for that press, and I'm going to get that fixed. And then I'm going to come back next week and start up another discussion about depriming. When do you do it? How do you do it? Do you do it before or after you wet? And get something like that started. There's still a lot of interest in that. And in the meantime, talk a little bit about what was the matter with my app press. And
it seemed to work pretty slick aside from your existing problem.
Oh, yeah. And the issue was me. I had unintentionally broken the little slide table that goes across there, and the fix that I did for it wasn't good. And anyway, that's what I'm up to. I got some casting I need to do. I got 47,000 moles sitting over there screaming at me to show them some action, and so that's going to start again next week. A little bit cooler weather now, so we can get some more casting done. And that's me. Shoot, cast, reload, rinse, and repeat.
Hello, everybody. Peanut Gallery. It's good to see you guys. Hello, each and every one of you. Thanks for coming out. You guys rock. Great panel as usual. Glad to be a part of it. Not a whole lot going on, guys, but let's pass it up there to Jamie.
I started this mess. CW, what do you got cooking, buddy?
Hello, guys. I just want to mirror what everybody else said. It's really good to be here, and it's really good to see everybody in the side chat. We're really a whole bunch of really good folks. We're all greeting each other and going back and forth with everything, and it's really good to see. Oh boy, here we go. Vanessa wants to know about peanut butter. Good times. I got a video I put out the other day.
Honey peanut butter.
To a guy I don't know how many of you listen to, but Target Sweet George there, he's been doing a bunch of videos on lever actions, and he picked up one 44 mag, and I wanted to do that hurt. Wanted to do a VR to him to answer some questions he had about some sites and such. So I did that video, and at the same time, I had some questions about those cowboy specials, and found out that they don't work, the levers. Walter already knew. I kind of suspected it, but I figured I'd do it all live on video and let everybody see, and it worked out pretty good. So I got that video done. That was kind of fun. A lot going on for me away from all the fun stuff, so I haven't had much time to do the fun stuff, but I'll get back to it. Tomorrow is a step for me. I was released to do a few more things in October, so that's a good thing. I can drive again tomorrow, so that's a good thing.
For you, but maybe not everybody else.
Well, at least they stay off the sidewalk. It'll be
Right.
fine. So we got a topic tonight. We're going to talk about some muzzleloader stuff, because we got some muzzleloader seasons opening for some folks, big game seasons, and seeing as we're doing cast bullets and powder coating and stuff, we want to know if you all have ever tried powder coating black powder, bullets and balls and stuff, and what you found, if you liked it, if you thought it was worthwhile, what your comments were about it. I know I've done it, so I've got some insight, but I don't know if anybody else on the panel has or has attempted it. But that's one of the things we wanted to
powder coated bullet.
That's what we wanted to talk about. See if we could spur some comments on. So get to thinking about what you want to know or what you've experienced, because we'd love to hear about it. Jamie, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking we need to talk about anything to get the conversation back on
Cornbread.
shooting, casting, and reloading, and not food. Although if you've seen me or met me in person, you'll know that I'm not afraid to eat. And
Mark
I've got
Thomas has got a very good question for Jamie or anybody that would know.
I saw it. I'll highlight it. I saw it.
But what about peanut butter?
It doesn't make a very good lube. It's a little too sticky. It makes messes. It does smell really good, but it's not great otherwise.
The dog will spend a lot of time licking your chambers off.
Stray dogs are everywhere when you fire that off.
Look, if you get that natural peanut butter with the oil on top that you have to stir in, could you just only stir just the top portion of it and use that?
A little bit better, but it's still way too messy.
Oh.
Bacon grease works better.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it smells good.
Well, I don't know
Smells
about
good.
the powder coating for muzzle loaders, because I've never pulled the trigger on a muzzle loader. But I've done a bunch of powder coating, and offhand, I can't see any reason why it would hurt. But it would be, knowing what little I do know, kind of beyond me about why you would need to bother a powder coating and doing something that modern to a muzzle loaded bullet. Why would you just not traditionally lube it and go for it? I don't really see the point.
The crux of it. You really can't think of it like you do a powder smokeless powder bullet. It cannot replace the lube, because the lube is not just there for leading. It's there for fouling. It's black powder and the substitutes all create a whole bunch of fouling in the barrel. And if you don't keep that soft, you're not going to load a second shot without cleaning that gun. And it's the powder coat's going to have nothing to do with that. So all I can see it really doing, well, I can see it doing a couple things. But the biggest thing I can see it doing is encapsulating the lead to make it just that little bit safer. That's really the biggest thing I can see it doing. The other would be maybe identifying bullets or playing with different weights and knowing them right away. Or, the same kind of things we use them for with smokeless loading. But no, it would not replace lube. You can't really get away from the lube. You gotta have some lube in there.
Would the powder coat upset the BHN target that you're looking for in a muzzle-loaded bullet?
I've seen
would that
that
matter
too.
at all?
I've seen that too. I don't believe that it would as far as performance on game. I think it'd be arguably no difference.
Yeah.
But definitely a difference in loading because powder coat runs about 30 BHN, near as we can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty hard. I mean, that's harder than linotype, harder than most any alloy you're going to use. But it's on a lead that's soft, so you can't read it and say that it's 30 BHN because it's going to indent the lead and you're going to get a different reading. So you touched on it, and the downfall of the powder coat for black powder is that generally you don't size your black powder bullets. You cast them and you shoot them. So when you powder coat, even a really strict, stringent process, you're going to have a couple thousandths on that bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be enough combined with that hard surface to make loading difficult, if not impossible.
Right. And I've noticed with my smokeless powder rounds that my powder coated bullets end up chronographing a little bit faster, not a whole lot, but somewhere between 5-7% faster than a traditionally lubed bullet does. And I don't know if that's because of the lubricity that the powder coat affords to the bullet compared to traditional lube. And that may be a function of the particular lube that I was using at the time to do those comparisons. But that might have some effect too with muzzle loaders. Those powder coated bullets are liable to slide out that barrel a little bit faster.
Yeah,
Not
once
that
you
would
get
necessarily
moving,
be a bad thing.
Because it's anybody who's handled sized powder coated bullets knows you drop a whole lot more of them. At least I do. Those buggers are slippery. But yeah, that's basically the negative that I've seen. I made up a whole bunch of 54s that I couldn't even get in the gun. The 50s I was able to load and shoot a few. Probably was just the powder coating thickness that I happen to have on the 50s compared to the 54s, because they're both TC molds. I guess one of them could have been a whisker wider, larger diameter than the other, but I'm blaming the thickness of the powder coat on the issues that I had. And maybe if you had one of those fancy Thompson Center backboard, or not backboard, little barrels without the rifling in the end, so it starts the bullet straight. I forget what they called them. Those might load a little bit easier or better, but mine were both old style. Didn't have that.
Ricky, 6-shooter Texan, had a good comment that I hadn't thought of, and he says that powder coat is going to get scraped off when you ram that bullet into a revolver cylinder anyway.
Yeah, I probably would, because that's a really sharp edge, and it's designed to do that. It's designed to cut it to the diameter.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you're.
So if you're loading, black powder for a revolver, then it would be pointless to powder coat because of that. Not really muzzle loading, but
I've casted up some of the real. You're fine. I've casted up some of the Lee real bullets. The
REAL. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me zoom you up, Mark. Hold
on.
There. Okay.
These are working great. Two separate groups, 3 each. That's what I was holding.
That's a nice group.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. That's 100 grains of substitute powder 777. So, and these are just powder coated. I don't use lube, but I'm hearing all this stuff, and I think I might try to do something with them, or maybe use A-locks on top of the powder coat just to give it some kind of, give the fouling a chance to soften up.
Mhm.
There you go. I've got the 300 grainer and the 240 grainer, and the 240 grainer is what gave us those groups.
Wow, lighter one. What is that rifle?
This is the Wolf, CVA Wolf.
Okay. I want to say they're the compromise rifling, like 1 in 24 or so.
Yeah.
I mean the conical rifling, rather, 1 in 24 or so. 28, 1 in 28.
Yep, CVA Wolf. I got 3 sitting here. I kind of forgot which one, but it was the Wolf.
And that stands for rifling imparted at loading.
Sure.
So it actually
Cuts it, yeah.
cuts into the lands and grooves as you're pounding it down the bore.
As it would a plastic sabot as well.
Just
Okay, so that's what those are for.
a comment for you, Mark. Do you know if they offer those wolves in a youth?
Negative. I haven't seen, but that doesn't mean anything. I think it's just a matter of stock length.
Correct. I think so too.
It fits me pretty comfortable, and I've got a pretty good wingspan, so your mileage may vary, but
I happened to be talking about this about an hour ago with a buddy, and he wants something for his kid. So I suggested one of these because they're such good shooters and they're not expensive.
yeah.
But he wanted to know about youth.
And that particular CVA, the Wolf, it's real easy. It's the brake action. It's got the large thumb screw breech plug. It's stainless steel. Man, that makes life, as far as cleanup, easier.
I believe they're approved for the modern powders too, right?
As far as I know, yeah. Definitely the substitutes. I haven't used the buckhorn in it. Is that what you mean by the modern powders?
209. It's
Mm-hmm.
They don't call it that, but it's basically a smokeless.
Yeah, the buckhorn 209. Yeah.
And what we're talking about, guys, is that powder requires a 209 primer, but it also requires specialty or a little bit modified breech plugs. If you all watched James Pugh's video the other day of his muzzle loader,
You did a real good deal there.
he did a real nice video there, yeah. But that breech plug is not acceptable for Blackhorn 209 because of those reliefs that are in it. Now, it could work, and I doubt it would be dangerous, but it probably wouldn't be overly reliable or consistent in its velocities because the powder is harder to ignite, so it requires a good, strong, consistent flame, and it requires a sealed breech plug with a little bit larger hole in it. Most of the breech plugs, even the regular 209s of years past, are vented like he showed there, a big slot in the side, or they're got a really, really small hole, which is what all the breech plugs used to have. The flintlocks, they all had a really tiny little hole. And anybody who, has to clean one up every year to make it work because a hose plug knows all about that tiny little hole. I know I've battled with it quite a bit. I've got one that uses a 25 ACP case as a holder for a primer. So it drops right in like it's a chamber, the breech plug. The cartridge case, 25 ACP, drops right in like it's a bullet chamber. But of course, it doesn't take a bullet. It just takes a primed case. And you can use small rifle primers in it. But they say that it's not approved for Buckhorn 209. And I mean, I know what kind of flame comes out of a small rifle Magnum. I think anybody who's reloaded a little bit knows it's a good hot spark. You can shoot even a 41 in there.
I think I would trust it. Yeah.
I agree, but I believe that it's a matter of the hole, the flash hole in that breech plug. They're saying that it's not going to consistently ignite in order to produce consistent velocities and accuracy. So that's all I can think of. And I haven't tried it, but that's my concern.
How's that case extracting? Is it pretty good, or does it swell up any, or how's that?
It comes right out, no problem at all. Yeah, it comes right out unless you let it get really dirty.
Yeah,
But
well, sure.
It's not a pressure thing. It's such a small hole. But I think maybe if you had a larger hole, it might, you might get some pressure coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a small, tiny little hole. Yeah, you just pick it out with your fingernail like nothing.
Good deal.
Mark, didn't you say you were shooting 100 grains?
Yeah.
What powder? F3?
Yeah. Yeah, 777. Yep. 3F. Yeah.
So Abigail says she has a complete upper just sitting around and wants to know should she build an upper or just buy a barrel. If you got that upper sitting around, I'd buy a barrel and take the upper apart, put the new barrel in, and that'd be my deer gun. You talking about 350 Legend, Abigail? These dogs are driving me insane.
They're not too awful noisy coming across. I mean, we hear them, but they're not awful.
So, do y'all prefer round balls or bullets?
I prefer conicals. I mean, I know a lot of people say a round ball is awesome and it works, and it does. But I like heavy bullets. I like big fat Mayplats, and I like heavy bullets.
I got you. I just thought I'd ask that before somebody else did.
I've had the privilege of shooting a black powder handgun, Civil War era, and a black powder rifle, but I've never owned any. Now I look in the stores at the stuff and I see, would it be better to cast a projectile or purchase a pre-made projectile?
It's the same as our smokeless stuff. It's just your personal preference. If you've already set up to cast, it's just a matter of getting a mold and enjoying black powder as well.
I also see the standard black powder and the black powder substitute powder. What's the difference there?
The substitutes claim was they're a little bit cleaner, and they are, but a little bit. Once you get into the Blackhorn 209, and there's a couple others that are out, they're really, really clean. But again, they don't advertise them as such, but they're far and away from black powder. Black powder it's almost like you shoot black powder. It's almost like oil that comes out of there. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but it's slimy. It's and it can be hard and crusty if you don't have good lube. And it literally you won't load another time if you don't have it a second shot. If you don't have good lube on your bullets, and it makes a mess. There was a question there before Abigail's about the Floridian asked about what's the best bullet for muzzle loaders. And it's the muzzle loaders are no different than smokeless rifles in that regard. Every rifle has its own likes and dislikes. The only way to know is just to try. But you'll find that there isn't a great deal of range in most bullets available. You're going to have 50s that are, 300 to 370 grains, and 54s that are 325 to 400 grains, and so it's just a matter of trying those. Oh, we got some.
I'll take my statement back. I'm using 2F, not 3F. Got to thinking about that, and I checked the bottle, and it's 2F. I have both. And I've tried both, but this year I started out with the 2F, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, as a rule,
thanks, G.
As a rule, 3F is pistol and 2F is rifle. But it's there's nothing wrong with shooting 3F in some rifle loads. It just as you get bigger, it's harder to ignite. So the pistols don't do as well with the larger um, granules. So you got 4F that's pan powder, you got 3F that's pistol powder, 2F is rifle, and 1F is shotgun. But the rifles are a little more resilient and they can shoot the 3, but you don't want to use 4. That would be really fine, and it wouldn't be good. So 4F is just pan powder, priming powder for flintlocks.
A few years ago, and Elvis Ammo, and I think he got in trouble for that video, but he had a pretty interesting video about how to make your own black powder and how to sift it out and get it to the right grain size and whatnot. But I think he got slapped in the face for that one, and they might have made him take it down. But you guys can try a search. It's kind of interesting to see, the process of making your own. It's actually pretty simple. Black powder it's a simple material to make if you've got the ingredients, some charcoal and some saltpeter and whatnot. But and it's one of those things that you think about. Well, if push comes to shove and I can't get smokeless powder at all, and we've got an insurrection, maybe I could make me some black powder and make it work out of my revolver. And you probably could once or twice. That was an interesting video. I'm going to go back now that I think about it. Look, see if he's still got it up.
Let me say hello to James of Eskage. He was a regular for a while, and stuff happened, and life gets in the way. And then he killed this huge elk and sent me pictures, and we talked about it and all that kind of stuff. So now it's hunting season again almost. So he's come in and paving the way so that he can rub our nose in it some more on the road. And he kills one even bigger than the one he did last time. Go get him, James.
Good job, man.
Excellent.
That's great.
I'm going to post up Idaho Rogers' comment, Jamie.
All right.
And the answer is yes. Different states do things differently. Pennsylvania is a big one that comes to mind because they have a traditional black powder season where you can only use flintlocks. And I'm sure there's other states that do it, but probably not too many. Most of them will have like Connecticut, for example, has a black powder season. They don't call it muzzle loader, they call it black powder, but they don't allow a lot of these newer breech loading muzzle loaders, which is
Right here.
crazy to me. They're pushing things crazy places, and I don't really care for it, but
No.
it's not the same. It's muzzle loader. I can see going to smokeless. I mean, I can see going to the fancy powders and different bullets and conicals and sabots and all that. That's here or there. But once you get away from muzzle loaders in black powder, it's not the same to my mind.
They differentiate it here in Indy. They do have a muzzle loader season, and it's called muzzle loader season. So it has to be muzzle loaded. It can be inline, it can be modern, it can be flintlock, whatever you do. But you can use that all firearm season if you wanted to. You just can't use firearm during muzzle loader, a regular smokeless gun. So,
well, there's a difference just popped into my brain sitting here. I watched a video when I've been swapping some buffer tubes and ARs. Don't ask me why. It's a long story. But I had this video of a guy loading 3855 for a lever action. But when you think about it, technically, there's a lot of cartridges out there. Well, 3030 is one as well that could be loaded with black powder. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it in my gun, but I think you need to, and I think that's what some of the states are getting at, that you load up a cartridge and use black powder and call it a black powder and use it for hunting. I mean, is that what we're getting at, Idaho? Or am I completely off base?
I think those states are calling it primitive. like 4570 is okay, and 3855, and it has to be either it was a date or it was a design of the cartridge. I forget how they ruled it, but I know they sold a whole bunch of 35 Remington. The 35 Remington H&Rs back in the day to a lot of southern states because they allowed them for primitive season, early primitive season. But I don't remember for sure the caliber. I thought it was 35 Rem, but I could be mistaken.
6-shooter's comment kind of brings me to a correction, I think. When I say inline, I was thinking of break action that you can't load from breech. So I know there's some inlines that take that situation where you put it in the breech. We're not allowed to use those in Indiana, but if it's a break action with a breech plug, you're good to go as long as you do everything from the muzzle.
Yeah, I forget what. I think it was Traditions or CVA.
Yeah,
brought that out this year. And what it is you load the bullet from the muzzle, but you load the powder from the breech, and that's not allowed here.
well, it was almost like a cartridge too. They had last year. They had that deal.
Yep.
That was cheating. Well, not cheating. It's not. It's just not right.
Yeah.
I honestly think the new modern muzzle loaders are kind of almost like using a crossbow. It's okay, but it's not traditional.
Yeah. If you remember reading, decades ago when inlines came out, there was a lot of this same talk. They're not black powder. They shouldn't be used. They're just high-powered rifles, and it's understandable. It's a change. It's side locks are a whole different animal. They're totally different. They're harder to shoot. There's more lock time. They're harder to shoot accurately. And flintlocks are along the same lines, but even more difficult, or can be more difficult. You don't keep them really clean. You don't have your setup right. You're not good and sharp. Your frizzing's dirty. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of guys balked at the percussions, and then they accepted the percussions, and then they balked at the inlines, and so now we're just at the next step. But and we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all like he says. It's all what they're going to call it. Muzzle loader, black powder, traditional, primitive. I mean, there's all different kinds of names that states choose and use and allow. That it can be very confusing if you're going to travel to go hunt in a different state.
Okay. That answers my question, Idaho, because I was wondering if by your previous comment you meant that the only way you can hunt in Idaho was with a muzzle loader. So typically in Georgia, our muzzleloader season, or what they call primitive weapons here, is muzzleloader and archery. But archery season goes on a long time. But for that 1 week, you can use your muzzle-loading rifles, and it's typically the week prior to regular firearm season opening.
Ours is reverse of that. We have a firearm in mid-November. It closes, and then there's a week off, so archery guys can get back out there for the second half of the rut, and then muzzleloader kicks in, and archery's through the whole thing. So,
yeah, we're set up the same. We can always use something more primitive during the more advanced season. So, high-powered rifle, you could be out there as long as you have licensure and tags for that. You could be out there with a bow, a crossbow, a muzzle loader, a shotgun, a pistol, as long as it's high-powered rifle. If you're in shotgun season, you could only use a shotgun, but archery season you could use a bow, and some places a crossbow, or some people a crossbow.
it gets tricky for new hunters because they go in and buy a license, and if you buy it during a certain season, just one, you got firearm, and you can only get a doe or something. But if you get the bundle, you'll get 3 deer all season long, all weapons long. You just make your choice, but you get 1 antler deer and 2 antlerless deer, and 3 inches is the limit. So it's better off buying the bundle. But this year it went up $25. It went from $65 to $91.
It sounds like we're pretty mirrored here with your game laws and ours. That's pretty much what ours are as well. You get tags for archery and there's 2 different archeries. You get tags for shotgun, and there's 2 different shotguns, A and B zone, A and B season, and there's rifle.
Oh, wow.
So you can shoot a passel of deer here, a passel of them.
Yeah, you can get 4 in one county and 4 in another county. I mean,
we have that as well. We've got a couple counties where if you shoot deer in that county, in that zone, they'll literally keep giving you a tag. You go check the deer in that zone, they'll give you another tag. If you check it somewhere else, you won't get a tag. But if you check it in the zone where they want you to take the deer from, they'll hand you another tag and you can get another deer.
Oh, that's awesome. We got to pay for each additional.
Yeah. No, you pay for the original ones, and then this is just certain areas and zones. You know, they may have an overabundance there and they want to knock them down.
Makes sense.
Yeah, most of that's down by New York City, along the lines of New York, down there in where the ritzy folks live.
Youth was last week and it was in full force, and there's a lot of kids knocking them down. So we do a youth, and there's a degradation hunt before that, and then sometimes in January there's a bonus antlerless season. But no matter what you get, no matter what you do, you're only allowed 1 buck all season.
Floridian has a question there that we went by a couple times. I posted and then didn't comment on, but he's asking, is smokeless powder more powerful than black powder? That's kind of a relative term.
Yeah.
Black powder is an explosive, so it works differently than smokeless powder. It's like a cannon. It goes off and it creates, an explosion that propels the projectile out of the barrel, where smokeless powder burns and creates a gas that rapidly expands that pushes the bullet out of the barrel. So they work differently. Black powder has its limits for velocity, but in order to get more power, you go bigger. That's the reason you see, 32s and 36s in black powder for smaller stuff, and 45s and 50s for bigger stuff, and then 54s and 58s for even bigger stuff, because black powder can push really heavy projectiles, but it really has got a limit on its speed that it can produce. But it can produce that same, let's just say 1,500 feet per second with a little 32 caliber or a 58 caliber with shooting, 800 grain bullets, 700 grain bullets. So it's pretty powerful, but it won't reach the velocities that are attainable with smokeless powder. Smokeless powder, if you know your cartridges, you can top 4,000 feet per second with some of our smokeless powder rifles. So power it's a relative term.
Yeah.
But if you're talking velocity, smokeless is a lot faster.
And it's purpose driven again. Like, there's a lot of guys that just swear by the white hot pellets, and they throw 3 in and they're done. But you can probably be surprised and put 2 of those in, or even measure out 100 grains of a certain powder. Your performance increases. Your range may not be as longer, but you're dead on at a certain distance. I just think it's a little overkill having 150 grains in my situation. So, but I'm sure it works for other guys.
But black powder it's a lot like smokeless and a reloader. You don't need to at all. You don't need to go by grains. Most of the black powder stuff is by volume, but they'll list grains. Like, you heard Mark say 100 grains a bunch of times, but he's not weighing out 100 grains. He's throwing in 2 pellets that are about 50 grains each. And even then they're done by volume. So if you look at a powder measure, it's done by volume.
Yeah, I use the loose powder. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply I use pellets. I don't care for pellets. I use the loose powder with the brass volume measure. So
you can weigh it, but it's not direct. So you don't weigh out 50 grains and use that. It's by volume. So it's going to be, 30 grains or something like that. It's different. You want to do your research if you're going to be doing that. But my point in commenting about it is, when you're working up loads and trying to find accuracy, don't even fiddle around with 1 grains. Just go like 5. So you're going to try 65 grains, 75 grains, 80 grains, 85 grains, 90 grains, 95 grains. And you'll see when on that measure that's in Mark's fingers there that it's probably graduated by 5s or 10s.
10s, yeah.
So and the reason for that is you're not going to find a big difference in less than that in performance and how it works for you. So where if you're loading 30-06, you may find that a couple of tenths, a half a grain is going to make a huge difference in your accuracy. You're never going to see that in a black powder. 95 might be a sweet spot and 100 might not. You'll see that, but it's not going to be 96 grains or something. That'll never be a thing.
And you'll reach that point of diminishing return. After you reach a certain plateau, it's not going to benefit you adding more powder. Sorry.
Just going to boot you in the shoulder harder.
Yeah.
I just looked this up. In the state of Ohio, deer muzzleloader season is January 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. 4 days.
Wow.
They're just throwing you a bone, ain't they?
The youth gun is November 19th, 22 through February 5th of 23.
Well, that's late for them kids.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, our youth was last
muzzleloader
week.
is the same for you. 4 days. You get 4 days to go out hunting with a muzzleloader.
Yeah, some states do stuff like that. Ours starts in the beginning of September and we go to February, but not all platforms.
Yeah.
We start with archery and we end with archery. And there's areas that only do archery. You can't ever take a firearm. That's
True.
just the way it is.
Some of our state parks allow muzzleloader now, but mostly are all archery.
Mhm.
Archery starts tomorrow, actually Saturday tomorrow, and then runs till January 5th. And like I said, you've got your firearm, your muzzleloader, and then your bonus season for firearm. But this year they've already excluded it in half the counties in Indiana. So
Wow.
Deer
can also-
archery here in Ohio is September 24th through February 5th.
it's going good there. Yeah.
I got a
So-
question. For you guys that are out there in the panel or the side chat, does your state differentiate the tags between smokeless or firearms and muzzle loaders? As in, can you take 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever your bag limit is in your state with a muzzle loader and then turn around and do another bag limit with your firearm? Or is it you get 4 deer per year and then you're done no matter how you take them with archery? Or how does it work?
In my state, it's real quick is you're only allowed so many deer per county, period. And then, like I said earlier, I'll clarify that you can buy a bundle, which gives you 3 deer, 1 antlered deer, and 2 antlerless deer. And the 3-inch limit is considered antlerless. So other than that, you can buy another tag, but it'll be for the season you bought the tag during. Like if I get 3 deer in archery and I buy another tag in firearm, I have to use that license in firearm season or in the bonus firearm season because it's titled firearm. And
So
then
it
I
can,
can buy
it can get pretty confusing if you're a multi-talented hunter,
right.
and you're doing archery and you're doing firearm and you're doing black powder or
Right.
muzzle loaders. You got to pay attention, or you're
Well,
going to be having these
3
warriors
deer
down your back.
if you're paying for processing, which I know it's an argument there, but that's a lot to argue, as far as processing monies. And then, if you're going to travel into different counties, that's a lot of work to get more deer in different counties. So the bundle is almost the best policy for most people here in Indy because you just go out any season you want, pick any weapon as long as it's legal that season,
Right.
and you're good to go.
And the reason I asked that question, back in my youth when I was hunting, I hunted archery with my Bear Grizzly recurve bow, and I took a couple with it, and then I hunted with the rifle, and it always seemed like the right way to go because if you crapped out in archery season, then you still got another season, where you can go and fill your tags. And I didn't know whether there were states where it said no, you can't stack them or whatever. We could here in California. It wasn't a problem. You could get the tag and if you didn't fill it in archery, it didn't count against you. In other words, as far as pulling a tag for your rifle season.
Yes.
Yeah, if I buy the bundle and fill it, then each additional license is $25 for whatever season you're in or choose to be in. So.
Yeah, they're all growing up. You buy a hunting license, and you got a tag, and you could apply for doe tags, but it was a buck tag with a firearm, or a buck or a doe with the bow. So if you went out with a bow and you shot a doe, you were done for the season. If you hunted all archery and didn't shoot anything, when it came around to rifle, you could only shoot a buck, and you were done, unless you got a doe tag, which you purchased as a lottery after the fact. So you didn't always get it. But in Connecticut, you buy a permit for archery and you get 4 tags, and it's only good for archery, but it's good for all the archery season for that year. You want to hunt muzzleloader, you get 2 tags, and it's a buck or a doe or 2 does. And it's only good for any muzzleloader or areas that allow muzzleloaders for that season. And you do the same with rifle. Rifle, you get 2, and it's a doe and a buck or 2 does, and it's for all of rifle or handgun that's available. So you can, and in with those tags, if you're in a zone that allows multiple tags, you will get another tag for every deer you shoot. So you check a deer in with the state. That's how it works. So you got to check them in, and they'll just hand you another tag as long as you're hunting in that zone where they want you to kill that deer. So there really is, I've never seen a limit on those areas. I'm sure there is. They've got 5,000 tags, and when they're gone, they're gone. But virtually you could shoot a few deer a day in those zones and just keep bringing them back and getting a tag, getting a tag. But it's not statewide, and it's not area wide. It's just certain areas, certain zones of certain areas within the state. So, like I said, it's like 6 or 7 deer you could go and buy tags for in Connecticut and hunt archery, black powder, shotgun, and rifle.
So in Georgia, you buy your license, and you have to buy a hunting license, and you have to have a big game license, and that includes bear, deer, and turkey. You get 10 does for the season, and you get 2 antlered deers, 2 bucks, and one of those bucks has to be at least 4 points on one side. So if you accidentally shoot a button buck thinking it's a doe, well, shame on you. You ought not be shooting at those little bitty deer. But yeah, we could kill 12 deer here in Georgia, and I just don't have that much freezer space.
Right.
And I'm not going to kill deer just to kill deer like they did the buffaloes out west.
Nope.
That ain't.
But still, if you're hurting like a lot of folks are out of work and whatnot, and you need to feed your family, that's nice to be able to fall back against that if push comes to shove. If you bring 12 deer home, that's a lot of meat. Granted, you got freezer space issues, but California was always, you get 2, and they got to be forked horns or better, no does. Every once in a while, they'd have a special doe season, but it was special season in certain zones.
They get to a point where they need to be thinned out. And I hear you, Mr. Pollard.
We're constantly fighting and playing the battle between the lions and the deer out here in California. And who gets priority? We're going to let the deer run so the lions can eat, or are we going to get rid of the lions so the deer can survive? But
we've got an area over here by the lake, and it got so bad the deer were just mangly and small and inbred and all that stuff. They actually, and it was an area where you couldn't hunt. And then they actually did a woman and children wildlife management area hunt. there, and there were a lot of deer taken, and they noticed the next year the deer were bigger, they were healthier.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, there comes a time when you got to clean it up.
What's happening, Nicholas? How you doing, buddy?
You with us, Nick?
What's going on, guys?
There he is.
Good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, you hear me?
We hear you.
You're a little choppy.
Now, here's the good
Yeah,
part.
that would be cell signal.
Yep. He's got a delay in there.
Go ahead, Hot Pot.
Here's the good part in the state of Ohio. If you're a landowner, you do not need any permits for any
Right.
amount of deer, antlerless, antlered, or turkeys, anything. If you're the landowner and it's on your land, it's yours. No limit.
I like that. That's how it ought to be, in my
And you can,
to my mind.
We have it here too.
here in Indy,
We
you
also-
can give permission to other people. Like farmers can give varmint, call them varmints because they eat crops or whatever. So,
Oh, you can. That goes for here in Ohio too.
Yep.
I mean, if you own land and you've got deer coming up to your back door and pestering you, you can let a local hunter come up and shoot them in your yard.
put them in the freezer.
You can do that out here in California, but you have to have a depredation permit
Of course you do.
from Fish and Wildlife Service.
Well, you have to
do
pay
that.
tax.
If you're an alfalfa grower, for example, and the deer are coming in and decimating your crop, then you can get a depredation permit and bring in all your cronies and go in and get rid of them in one night. But that's a difficult permit to do. Our wildlife service has to come in and look at the deer population and see if it can withstand you wiping out 50 head of deer, out of your alfalfa fields or not. But it is possible.
Got to have their hands in everything out there.
Oh man, I'm surprised I can even sit down comfortably most of the time.
My muzzle loader was a CVA. That's a good comment.
Yeah. My first one was a bolt action Remington 700, and it was the cap style, and then I converted it over to a 209 primer. It's been a great gun. You got to take care of them no matter what brand you get, guys. No matter what pattern you use, you got to wash them.
Yeah.
What do you wash them with?
I use dish soap, hot water. Just go to town with dish soap and hot water until it looks like it's done and clean. And then I'll do it like a traditional rifle with your oils and stuff to keep the steel nice and coated.
If you're using modern powders like this Blackhorn 209, you clean it with petroleum products just like you would your smokeless guns.
Good point. There are specific instructions for the new stuff. But
if you're using black powder or black powder substitutes, hot water, there's really nothing better than hot soapy water.
Yep. Immediately when you get home. Within reason.
There's JCM 45.
JCM.
What's up?
And DWD too.
Went out and put batteries in a trail cam today and checked the area. At least one of the places I'll be hunting.
As a former hunter, and seeing all you guys and listening to all you talking about your upcoming seasons, I'm anxious to see your videos when you start bringing your bags in and show us how you did. Yeah, I still kind of kicked myself for not being a hunter anymore, but it's just getting more and more difficult. And for me to have a successful hunt here, I'd have to travel 400 miles up to Northern California. Folks I know up there, I'm not going to do it. But
as much as you walk and like walking, Walter, you got to look into bird hunting. You got to bird hunting out there.
Yeah, I hunted birds a lot, mostly what we call our valley quail, and we had another species, mountain quail. There are no pheasants here other than the guys that were raising them for hunts, um, specifically, and there were some pheasant clubs and whatnot you could go hunt. But our valley quail, we had bag limit of 10 per day during season, and I always got 10. My dog would
Yeah.
bring home 12 or 13, but that dog was something else. But yeah, I miss that, but that was back in the days of my 20s. If I didn't hunt, I didn't eat. That was kind of the way it was. So,
My lab was always a duck dog. We always duck hunted because we were on the shore. And the first time I brought him out pheasant hunting, I never pulled the trigger, and I got 2 pheasants because
yeah,
he found
yeah.
cripples. He found everybody else's cripples and grabbed them and brought them back to me. I didn't have to
Oh,
waste
yeah.
a shell.
Yeah. My lab, she was the English style lab, the kind of a little shorter lab,
Yeah,
and she was
yeah.
a go getter, man. She'd climb up in our mesquite and chaparral, brush, climb up into the bushes after them.
Yeah.
Didn't care. Come back all cut up. I used to have to take nickel or needle and thread out with me. I'd stitch her up 2 or 3 times out in the field, and just a great dog. Just so much fun. She got pissed off after about 10 years of that though, and walked down the trail and looked at me, looked back at the truck, went back drunk, jumped back in the truck, never hunted again. She said, I'm done. You never let me keep one dadgum quail. I'm over it. She would never go again. Wouldn't even get in the truck when she saw the shotgun come out. Funny dogs.
Y'all ain't really going to do that one chip challenge thing, are you?
I didn't heard of it.
Gene and G23 were talking about it. It's 9 o'clock and I have not been through the side chat yet.
Oh man, let's do it.
If y'all want to type in BP for black powder, I'll call out your name.
I just started typing BP and I put BO instead, which after my walk this afternoon might have been more fitting, but
6-shooter brought up a good point earlier. With the black powder guns, the true black powder and stuff, Ballistol is a good immediate. You can spray it in the field when you're done. It'll break down the solvents or the acidic part of the salts, and then you can get home and finish it off.
All right, let me do this thing. So we got Walter, James of Vestige, Chris from the 740, Paul Loud, 6-shooter Texan, Mark Thomas, Tommy Boy, Hasbro, 67 Rebel SST AMC, Kyle, Tim S, DWD 37, Hipparchus, Papa's Place, Corners and Doors, Lead Bullet Junkie, JCM 45, G23, Chris 338, Floridian, Tommy Boy again, Jer Bear Tactical, Idaho Rogers USMC, Andre D'Angelo, Floyd Hicks, GGW Outdoor, James of Vestige, and I think that's all. Let's go over and see who YouTube says is here. Y'all want to do that? Probably the same bunch. Let's see. According to the YouTube participants list, we have 67 Rebel SST AMC, Andre D'Angelo, Chris 338, Chris from the 740, Corners and Doors, CWDWD 37, Floridian, Floyd Hicks, Fuzzy Fork 8, G23, Georgia Shooting Connection, GGW Outdoors, Hasbro, Hipparchus, Idaho Rogers USMC, James of Vestige, James Polar, JCM 45, Jer Bear Tactical, Kyle, Lead Bullet Junkie, Mark Thomas, Papa's Place, Paul Loud, Rallis Corvellis, 6-shooter Texan, Tim S., Tommy Boy, Waltz Fletcher, Walter Bunning, and William C. Chapin. What's up, Curtis? I haven't had a chance to watch your video yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And we're showing 39, but I swear I just called out more than 39 names. So we got to wonder what's going on up in here, right? But one thing I'm glad we had this topic tonight um, about muzzle loading and hunting and that kind of thing. Um, and I know Mark hunts with a muzzle loader, so I just I wanted to get his input, and CW does a lot, and so it's really cool that we were able to talk about this. We got Scottish American. What's going on, bud? And we've had Nicholas Young, Walter's son, is trying to get in here, but he's having internet issues. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, he might make it in after he gets home. I saw your video about your heritage today, G, and uh, y'all saw Gene's video where I was blessed with one, so that makes my second. And so I'm kind of excited about that. I need to mess with it a little bit. So G23 will not be having a show tomorrow night, but Gene, it was shooting high at the range that day, but I know I can fix that. I'll file that sight down a little bit. And then,
Hey, Jamie, did you get that? Was it taking other 22 bullets a little better? Because those seemed a little tight, that one batch. But I was wondering if that was just the oil they ship it in.
I have some gunsmithing stones. I'm just going to knock the edges off of those cylinders and it'll be fine.
Yeah, okay.
My other one came with the 22 mag cylinder, so I may think about getting me another one, or
They're pretty cheap, aren't they? Maybe like $30 or something.
yeah. I have, James. I have been thinking about doing gunsmithing, kind of a side trade after I retire. Ever shop at GFL Gunsmithing? Nope, never heard of them. What does that stand for?
Good freaking luck.
Well, there you go, Walter. 1 second, Gene. There you go.
No, that was for Chris. He asked me about the shirt. I got from that Collion Noor, however you say his name, and he's got them for every state. So no matter where you live, you can get a tactical Evil Black Gun state shirt.
I'll do that, G.
They've got some really nice stuff on their site. I mean, you can really customize your stuff. You can get holsters, holster belts, all different kinds of grips. It's
Everybody
nice.
in the world, except for El Viejo, has a Heritage 22 revolver. I'm feeling left out. I'm gonna have, and there are hundreds of them at my two local gun shops. They're thicker than thieves down there, and I just need to go, drop a gas tank's worth of money onto a Heritage and get one.
Yeah,
have some fun.
if you ride your bicycle, that's the equalizer.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's only
That-
like 8-9 miles up to the nearest guy. I should
Yeah,
just do
just
it.
take
Huh?
just start in the morning. Just take your time, man. That's equal to what you're going to spend in gas just to go there.
Yeah,
Roger-
pretty hard to
Roger
beat when you
forbid
can
me.
get that mag cylinder
Roger.
with it too.
Roger forbid me, Walter.
Well, you know how he is. He's old. You know, you got to give him some slack there.
Mine's actually the EAA version. It's not the Heritage.
Oh, now walks. Come on, man. They're fun. They are fun.
Yeah, I got a couple old H&Rs.
I think those Wranglers might shoot a little better. I don't know.
I bought a Wrangler. That's what I bought. I bought a Wrangler.
Yeah, I have a 1970s era Ruger single six. That's not a very good shooter, to be honest with you. But I've got it, and it's fun to shoot, and it's easy, and they're just butt simple. They're so simple to tear down if you want to dink with them, and but I haven't shot that one in a while. But for the $1.50 that Heritage is going to run you, it's pretty hard to turn away from it.
I got a high standard 49er too, which is pretty close to that double 9 that's out today. But they're all the same class of guns. They're all that zinc frame, inexpensive.
Inexpensive, easy shooters. Throw them in a bag when you're done, or in the toolbox. That's kind of what they're for. But
Walter, I gotta say this. I have never heard anyone outside of myself to say the word dink around. And I say it because of a friend of mine who used to do some work with me. His nickname was Dink. And he was always half lazy about everything he did. So we always called it dinking around.
that's probably where the term came from.
It's
It's one phrase I've used since I was a kid. I don't know where I picked it up. Probably from my dad.
I
He used to
picked
call
it up
me
from a
dink
guy.
too. But
I picked it up from a guy we call Dink.
same thing
Uh-oh.
here on the internet.
Hey,
I give that chamber a really good polishing, a really good look with a magnifying glass to see what's going on in there. There's some reason why that one chamber gets dirty faster or fouls up faster, and I would just get a really good eyeball on it there. If you've got a bore scope, get in there. I just picked up 2 months ago now. I picked up 1875, Remington 1875, and while we were talking about this, I look at the chamber mouths, and they were varying oddly. So it's not the proper way to measure it, but using the dial caliper, I was getting some really funky numbers, and the gun was super clean. I mean, the barrel was clean. There's no residue above the cylinder, like cylinder gap blast up there. Everything looked really clean. Well, the insides of those chambers weren't that clean, and I actually could not seat a number of the bullets that I wanted to load for it because with the cylinder of the gun, they wouldn't go all the way in, and I wrongly assumed it was just a really tight chamber or a short chamber. But when I really got to cleaning, and I mean really, really cleaning, there was a good bit of carbon buildup in that cylinder to the point where it reduced the diameter of the throat, and it didn't allow chambering or full chambering of some bullet profiles. So, the gun looked really clean, and the guy cleaned it before he sold it, but he didn't get the carbon fouling out of that cylinder, and that can be really hard to get out. I really worked on it to get it out, and I was actually on the phone with Walter when I figured it out, and those bullets, all my bullets, everything, even the great big one, dropped right in the chamber now, and it was all that hard carbon that can get at the mouths of chambers. You see it a lot with 22s when guys shoot longs or shorts in older guns. It's not ruined. it takes a lot to get it clean. It's not clean with just a couple passes of a brush and some solvent. You have to really work at it. I use JB board paste and a lot of elbow grease, and this was a nickel gun, so it's nickeled, and it's really hard. So I wasn't really worried about anything. I didn't use any sandpaper, nothing crazy like that. But I worked out a little harder than I normally would, and kept looking and looking with a good and a bore scope, and it took a lot to get that out of there. But what a difference it made! So.
Yeah.
I would say you probably have something like that going on. You probably have some tooling marks or something that's causing the fouling to get a good grab, and you think you're getting it clean, but you're just not.
Yeah, and I shoot a lot of short case variants for 38 and 44 and 45, and by short case variants I mean like 38 short Colt and a 357, or the 45 Cowboy Special and a 45 Colt. And I cheat when it comes to the cylinders. I'm going to say it's cheating. And I take a cleaning rod and cut it off, and put a bore brush in it so that it's, the whole thing's only that long, and chuck it up into my drill and run that in and out of my cylinder. I wouldn't do that in your barrel ever. I haven't ever seen it hurt the cylinder.
Yep.
But if you go shoot 150 45 Cowboy Specials out of your 45 Colt cylinder, you're going to have a carbon ring in there that won't let you put a longer case in there like a Schofield or a Colt. And you got to get that stuff out of there. And that works. You can run that in there and back and forth. I haven't seen it hurt my cylinders at all.
Yeah, don't be afraid of this. If you clean it when you get home, you're fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to get it out. But if you let it go and let it go and let it go for multiple shooting events or multiple shooting times or a lot of months or years, yeah, you're going to have a hard time getting that out if you can get it out. But if you clean every time after you shoot short cartridges, you're going to have no problem.
Yeah. And a lot of guys, they don't like to clean every time, and with probably good reason. Yeah, I'm of the camp with my handguns anyway. I come home from the range, and I at least will, if it's only 50 rounds, I'll at least run a swab through the bore and the cylinders on a revolver. But excuse me.
Bless you.
Gosh, I'm allergic to Georgia. But that's probably not really necessary if you're shooting in caliber rounds, a 45 Colt through a 45 Colt. But I shoot a lot of these shorter rounds because of the arthritis that I've got going on. It just hurts me to shoot, 10 grains of unique with a 255 grain 45 Colt bullet. I don't do it. I shoot Schofields and I shoot Cowboy Specials instead. And so I pay attention to that. I clean when I come home. And I don't think I'd be doing that with rifles. I don't think you ought to clean your rifle every time you shoot 5 rounds through it at all. But how do we get onto cleaning? I'm going to shut up.
I want to say something about this comment I got up here. Floridian, unless you're about to buy your first revolver, this is America, brother. We don't have to make those kind of choices. Praise the Lord for that. But man, there's some awful nice. Well, like right here, Rollis Carvelis, 6-inch model 27, or a 586, 686, 6-inch.
Yeah. Yeah, or a Ruger Vaquero or GP 100. Or a Ruger Blackhawk in 357, because you can shoot at least 4 different cartridges out of that sucker. Especially if you get a Ruger Blackhawk with a 9mm cylinder with it, you can have a lot of fun with that. So
then you get a Henry like 6-shooter Texan.
Yeah, but he shoots 32 H&R, so you can't listen to him. What does he know?
He knows more than me.
But I'm telling you what, it's been.
Let's see.
That's a fun cartridge.
I just got a new Henry.
You did.
Yes,
It's a sexy one.
You got that
Tom's Place
45.
has a question there on the. Oh, you flopped it, Jamie. On the Frankfurt Arsenal Universal bullet seating die setup, and I believe I did a video on it. I know I've got it. I picked it up because it went on sale for silly cheap, and basically it's made to make you think it's a match bullet seater because you can drop the bullets in the top and seat them down, but it lacks the precision of them. I think it's great if you're loading a lot of scant ogive, really long, sleek, pointy bullets, because the seating stems in most dies don't accommodate those pointy bullets. So if that's what you're loading, I think you'd love it. I think it's awesome. If you're just getting it to have something different, I don't know that you're really going to appreciate it so much because it doesn't offer the precision of a match seater like it makes you think it is, but it does accommodate those long pointy bullets really, really well. So there you go. I would watch it. It goes on sale. Grab it when it gets cheap. I want to say I paid like $33. It was pretty cheap. So that's my take on it. I'm glad I bought it, but it's not quite what I thought it would be.
I'm debating on some better dies for 6.5 Creedmoor. He says less than 2 weeks after he shoots 1,000 yards with it.
I think it's a good thing when you've got a rifle that you really like, a rifle that you really enjoy. You're going to invest in a good scope for that rifle. You might invest in a trigger for that rifle. You might invest in a better stock for that rifle. If you're a reloader, why not invest in your ammunition? Invest in better dies. And it doesn't hurt to have a multiple sets of dies. It doesn't hurt to have a standard set and a match set.
Then we wind up like your video today, CW. We've got 3 different brands of dies on our turrets, and because we like we especially for pistol. Oh, wait a minute, y'all! I forgot something. He showed up. Are y'all ready? I hope he's still here.
Boy.
3, 2, 1. Hey!
What is he called?
Midwest or West Coast weirdo.
West Coast weirdo. There he is.
Man, Mario Mosine. Hi, Mario. Mario didn't live too far from me. You'd think he'd come over and say hi, but
Well, have you invited him?
Hey, Mario, come over and say hi. Get on the bike and come on.
See,
I did. We got a really cool spot halfway in between us. And he said, I don't know if I want to ride anymore. But anyway, that's how Mario is.
Well, Mark, me and you are the Midwest weirdos.
Yep.
The Midwest weird. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness going on in this outfit. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Hasbro. I've seen it too. I had it crazy in my Lyman All-American. I was blaming all different kinds of things, and I finally found out it was mostly coming from my head and my RAM. I changed up shell holders, cleaned out my shell holder RAM, and then fixed my head, and I dropped it down to single digits. So you got to look at your foundation, look at everything. I mean, I know you know this, but when you can't find it, you got to look at the most obvious things and don't take anything for granted. And new doesn't mean right. So just start with everything. Yeah. Everything is suspect.
I see
what we're talking about. Multiple die sets. And I've got 2. Oh, look what he got. Some brand new Hornadies.
Nice.
Got them Horn Daddies. And I have at least 2 die sets for every caliber I shoot. I got at least 2. At least one for the Lee Classic turret, and another set for the Dillon for my pet load. And then if I find a good set that's cheap on eBay, I'll buy them. I just got today a brand new old stock set, the 1970s era RCBS dies for 45 ACP for $20 on eBay. Brand new, never been used. The set that has the sizer in or the neck expander in the sizing die. You know, they're brand new, never been used, $20. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I got like 5 other sets for 45 ACT. Give it to my nephew or something.
Well, I'll tell you, we talk about having different sets. There's really a lot of use in it. Everybody, especially newer loaders, everybody's buying carbide. I want carbide. I want carbide. I want carbide. But having steel sets for a lot of these pistol cartridges really can benefit you a lot. I mean, if you spend any time over on the Highboy site over there, he's always preaching and talking to people with 9mm problems. And every time he asks them the same question, you're using carbide dies? And you're not getting a full size that can cause you problems. And it's very, very, very common. You go with a steel die and you're going to eliminate that problem.
Yep.
So
the steel dies can conform better to the actual SAMI spec size of that case compared to a carbide die that has just a little tiny ring at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole case gets sized at, regardless of the fact of like a 9mm that's a tapered case.
Yeah. So, how much of that case are you really sizing? You're sizing the web, where the spool is. You're not sizing the case.
So, Hasbro, let me ask you this about that comment. Mine are the Hornady Custom Series dies. Is there a difference? I would assume that the new dimension would be a step up from the Custom Series. But I did buy this seating stem micro adjuster thing.
They're nice.
And, well, it don't work on 6.5 Creedmoor because you think about, look how long this die is. Then you put this up on top of that. And then what happens is it falls out, and it just.
Well, the stem, there should be a stem inside. There's no stem inside that one?
Inside the seating?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I have multiple seating stems for it. But anyway, so Marvin showed up. And I'm behind on the comments bad, but I was pleased. I really was. I do not have I don't have a thing to do the test the run out. That's one of the things I'm gonna buy, and I'm thinking about some of those Redding bushing dies for setting my neck
tension. Mm-hmm.
And James, I'm sorry I got distracted, but Georgia Firing Line is not far from where Kyle works. So I know exactly where Georgia Firing Line is.
Like Walter says, I have the same thing, and I do the same thing with dies. I mean, I don't have doubles of everything. But the ones that I shoot a lot or really enjoy and like to tinker with, I'll have, multiple sets of. Now, we talked about this in a couple different chats, but 6mm is something that I was really hot on, and I still am. I just have achieved a lot of what I wanted to, so I don't play a lot with it anymore. I can't do anything right now, but I can start loading pretty soon. And I had a die set since forever. Always wanted 6mm, never owned one until just a year or so ago. And I had a die set forever. It was a 75 or so RCBS set. And I found that it was sizing the cases more than I wanted it to. It was actually some of the brass that I had didn't know the history on. And it was fired in a large chamber, probably a Remington Auto or something that had a pretty large chamber. And it actually was shaving brass when I sized. So I started looking for a new RCBS or a Redding set. And the Redding sets were just a lot of money. They've just really blown up in price. They're not $100 anymore. They're like, 180, 179 or so. And I happened to find a number of nice die sets, an old C&H set. I found a match, a new match Forester die, sizer die. I found a Redding die set, and I bid on all of them because they were all cheap. They were all low, and 6mm isn't so common. And the prices they started out really low. I mean, really, really reasonable. Like that Forester die is probably $100 for that one sizer die, $80 or so. I think I won it for like $39. The Redding set, used Redding set, just a couple years old. I think it was like $19. That's like $180 to buy brand new, and it wasn't that old. And it was just because, they were a caliber that wasn't super popular, and I happened to be the only one bidding, and I ended up with like 4 die sets. But luckily, they were all different enough. And I talked about maybe even doing a video comparing what each die set can do, because the only one out of the popular stuff that I don't have is a Lee set for 6mm. So I was contemplating just buying it and then I can do a comparison between all the die sets for the same caliber and the same gun, shooting the same bullets with the same load, and see what the difference is. I thought it would make an interesting video, but it would be a lot of work on my end. But yeah, it'd be fun. It wouldn't be bad. But absolutely, and I have neck sizer dies, and you can definitely see the difference as long as you have everything set up right and you got everything under control with your runouts and all the bigger things. You can definitely see a difference in different die sets, different brands, and sometimes it's not what you think, or it's not even what you want. You want this to be right because this is the high dollar one, or this is the fancy one, or this is the one you always wanted to own. Yet that Lee set shoots the smallest groups, so it's not always what you expect, but you learn to get what you learn what it'll give you, and it'll give you what you want. You just have to find the right one.
That's interesting, CW.
If you're going to get a runout gauge, Jamie, I recommend you get one of the ones that runs on ball bearings versus just V blocks. It's not a huge difference in price and a whole lot better in how it operates.
Well, I'll be talking to y'all before I do anything like that.
If you've got gauges already, a lot of them will let you buy it without the dial caliper, without the dial, not a caliper, but the dial, because that can be, hundreds of dollars if you have a really good one, and you can move it to different things. They all amount the same. So that can save you some money too. You just buy the base and the bracket if you already have a dial.
I have nothing. I've seen the Hornady, and one thing I like about it's you can adjust the run out on it after you've loaded the round, or they say you can.
Yeah,
anyway.
I've seen it.
But my experience with Hornady has been, except for their dies, I've not got any bad Hornady dies, but some of their equipment's hit and miss. Some of it is excellent. Some of it just don't work. Or maybe it's me who don't know how to use it, which is probably the case.
Well, I wore out a set of V-blocks on my RCBS.
See, that's what I need to hear, Ozark. Hasbro's got the 21st century. Their stuff's a little more expensive, I think. But I am thinking about a set of at least the Redding seating die with the it'd have to have the set. I really want those bushings in there to set my neck tension at exactly 2 thousandths. There's something I ain't thought about, Tex. 6. I'm telling you, man. So many things.
There you go. That's a good point.
Yeah. Let me respond to James. You mean this one?
Yeah.
They've got a new one that it's called the G3, and they swear it works. Well, that's what they said.
G3, third time's a charm. I guess that's what they're.
I guess. Papa's Place said he had the Hornady and didn't like it, so I sold it. So that's the way I am with my Hornady lathe style trimmer. A lot of guys really like those things, and I fell out of love with it rapidly. Well, there you go. So Idaho Rogers didn't like their press. James.
God.
There you go.
Idaho, I had the Hornady lock and load AP that I used. The progressive press, and I used it for quite a while. I could not get next to their priming system. The way the primer punch worked is it came down, had a little button that kind of came down and hit up against the casting of the main press, and it would wear a little divot into the casting, and then it wouldn't seat properly. And so a bunch of us would kind of do the same thing. You'd take your old set of feeler gauges, pretty high tensile strength steel, and snip one of them off and hot glue it onto the press body and hope that would solve the problem. And it didn't, and I got rid of mine too. I have a lock and load single stage that I'll sometimes pull out for bullet sizing or something that's a real hard project to do that my lighter weight presses don't handle. But yeah, I wasn't a fan either.
Never ever use Hasbro's brass. Okay, just saying.
Hey, Hasbro.
If he send you some rubber glove, clean.
I was going to suggest to Hasbro, if he's getting that much of an improvement on his SDs with all he's doing. If you were here last week and heard me talk about the guy at the range, he talked about all that. Neck tension was his main reason for accuracy.
Well, neck tension is the biggest portion of your accuracy for sure.
He lubed them as he seated them, so it made it even more consistent and more true. So there's another step you could take if you haven't tried that.
It's an option. It doesn't work for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah. And hey, Floridian says, Walter, I like your signature cap. So here's a short story that I've never shared before. This hat has a short story behind it. My father was a physician. He was an anesthesiologist, and he smoked all his life. And he died of cancer. And during his treatment, he lost all his hair, and he wore this hat. So that's why this hat is here. That's tribute to Dad. It was his hat.
That's not.
There's arm and axes.
Also, I was wanting to know if anybody else has taken if it's a turret press, find out which hole is more concentric to the ram. I know there's some slop in there and the dies will take up the difference, but on my old T-Max that William Chapin sent me, I've got 2 holes that are way more consistent than the other 4. So that's an option you can look at too. Rotate your dies around and
Yep.
see if you get a better seat with a certain hole.
Exactly. And Mock, on my old Sparty that you helped me with parts for, I found the same thing.
Yep.
That there are a couple of holes, and I know Fortune Cookie 45LC, when he got his Lyman, the 8-hole
American 8.
turret,
Mm-hmm.
he did the same thing, measured them all, and he found a couple holes that weren't quite as good. So, yeah, it's something worth checking, and you can do it pretty easily. You can run a case up in there, take a long case like a 357 mag or a 250 Legend or something like that, and run it up in there and watch that case right at the bottom in the shoulder and see if it moves as it goes up into the die, and that'll give you a clue if it's not quite concentric up there or not. And that's a typical problem with turrets. Not all of them. My T7 is dead on all 7 holes, but
You would think with today's technology and the CNC capabilities, the tolerances are a lot tighter, but I still wouldn't trust any run-of-the-mill, production turret,
Yep, got to look at them.
I've got one A&A. I really like that gun. It's probably going to be my primary hunting weapon this year. By the way, I told Mark, I called him yesterday and told him, but for Gene and the rest of y'all, I had issues with my 350 Legend after I tried some hand loads that weren't seated deep enough, and those are all coming apart. We're going to start from scratch because I really want to run. I've run that bullet, a very similar bullet. CW sent them to me, and Charlie Brastuffer sent me some as well. And I had clover leaves at 50 yards with that load, and I know it's a good shooting bullet. I just got to figure out, how deep to seat it and what's going to be a safe charge. But they got stuck in there, and so I grenaded them out, like you do with an AR. Then we tried to shoot some factory loads, and they wouldn't chamber either. So I'm like, what in the world's going on? And Mark had one. What did I do with that box? This right here. I'm going to get this one out. I probably shouldn't be telling y'all this. So we had this going on. Let me see if I can blow it up. It got stuck in there, and we got it out, but you can see it's demolished. So I'm going to tear this apart too, and that's going to give me some measurements for the bullet that they're using. This is 180 grain soft point. This is their deer hunting load for 350 Legend. So, and it's still nasty. Look at my fingers from the chamber. So, upon getting it home and taking it apart and figuring out what's wrong, I realized that, let me do this again. That happened to my charging handle.
Wow.
Oh,
That ain't good.
Wow. You are a tough old guy. I'm telling you what.
I wasn't slamming it that hard either, was I, Mark?
No.
No, you weren't.
Hard enough.
And there you go, 6. New stuff is made in China.
Yeah, that's.
But this is like a $15 charge and $20 charging handle.
I like Geisley's. Geisley charging handles have never let me down.
They better not. They're $120 a pop.
Man.
They run good though.
I've avoided those high cost ones, but maybe I need to take a look at mine and just kind of assess what's happening. but I haven't had any trouble to cause such. But you never know. It's good to check them out.
But then again, on my 300 blackout that I took out to 300 yards, I have that. That's a mil spec. That's standard issue, generic mil spec charging handle.
That bullet is not. The bullet's not damaged, James. That's not the problem, Ozark. My magazine is a regular 5.56 magazine. It's a 10 round, but I've filed it down and sanded it and then all that. And it's just, the magazine works good. And not just that, but I also have a CCMG magazine and I got a Bear Creek Arsenal magazine on the way. So, but I bet you that 5.56 one that I altered, uh, I bet it's going to work better than the rest of them. So, Junkie, that's just a cheap mil spec. It does till you do something stupid like I did, G.
Floridian's got a question for you, Jamie.
I built it, and it's a Aero Precision upper, and it's Shaw Accuracy HD contour barrel. It's a 18-inch, I think, heavy barrel, and it's threaded, but I don't have a. I've got a flash hider on the way for it, spiral cut stainless. It's going to look good on that barrel, I think. Can't wait for you to see it, Mark.
Standard cut M4 ramps, right?
It is. That's. I don't like that, but it works.
Sure.
It's been working till I did. I didn't make a dummy round like I was supposed to.
Well,
Yeah, lead bullet junkie, man. Those Radiant Raptors are tough. Those are tough. I've had a couple of those, and you can catch them on sale through Optics Planet. I think it is.
yeah, Ozark, I agree. You'll find a good place with them feed ramps if you smooth out to break the edges a little bit, maybe open them up and polish them just a touch. I had good luck with the 300 blackouts I did. So 762 by 39 as well.
I love my 300 blackout.
Yeah, they're fun.
I was
They're
really
fun.
impressed with it at the range. My AR pistol 300 blackout with the suppressor on it, that was fun.
Oh yeah.
And man, the 16-inch, man, stretching that out to 300 yards, that was good. With a red dot.
I found me another charging handle that I'm going to buy. It's Spike Tactical. I don't know if y'all have had good luck with those or not, but you don't like those, Mark?
What's that? I'm busy talking to G23. Sorry, what?
Do you not
He's
like?
in Oregon. You got to cut him some slack.
I know. Do you not like Spike's Tactical? Scotsman said he likes that.
I haven't had experience with them to say.
I've had quite a few items from them. They all seem good.
I had a lower parts kit from Spike Tactical, and an AR that I built. It all worked fine. I haven't seen typical quality.
Well, let me show y'all the bullets I'm trying to get to run, and y'all understand why it's a problem, I guess.
I think we can work around it, Ozark, but I agree that the M4 ramps might be, yeah, an issue. But I think there is a workaround. If not, I mean, yeah,
Most makers now are changing the M4 feed ramps when they use the Legend and the bigger cartridges because they
yeah, definitely. The Bushmaster's one big dish. I mean, it's
Yep.
yeah. So the 30 cals definitely struggled to get up in there. Anyway, go ahead.
Come on, focus. There you go. All right, the bullet on the left is the one CW sent me, and it's a hollow point. And then the one on the right, the blue one, is my MP 359 hammer. And I really like that. I think both of those would be deer killing machines if I can get them. If I can get them where they'll run good.
Oh yeah.
But I do wish it was more of a one, like instead of M4 ramps, the two. I wish it was one,
Yeah.
but I'm not willing to take my barrel out and start grinding on it. I'm not going to do that.
Roger that.
I'll just shoot these in 35 Remington and be done with all that. But I really think that 359 uh, 359 hammer is going to be a great bullet.
Speaking of barrels, I have a barrel in my spray room hanging there that's going to get done this Monday.
Cool, man.
A set of barrels. A set of barrels. Yeah.
Floridian, I hunt a little bit of private and a little bit of public. The private land I hunt is about 20 to 30 acres, and then south I got another piece of 60-acre plot I can hunt on. And then we got several state parks around here that allow archery and some muzzleloaders. So I try to get in there best I can. The last couple of years I've been a little lazy with it, but this year I hope to put in more effort.
Wow, man, that's already quitting time.
can close.
Where did where's 2 hours gone?
Good conversation.
Well worth it.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I hunt private land. I used to do some public land too, Floridian, but it got dangerous around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love my 35 Remington, James. You're going to like it, buddy.
I miss mine. I had a really nice Marlin 35 Remington.
Send me your AKG-23 and I'll give you an evaluation. No big deal.
I know, right, Arm? Sometimes it seems like it was just yesterday we were graduating high school. Now we're counting down to retirement. So,
I mean, AKs are kind of like Glocks. They're reliable and they fire anything you put in them and they're fun, but I mean, it's,
They don't have a soul.
Well, he does like Glocks. So there you go.
I like my Glocks, but they don't have a soul.
No, they don't.
1911 has a soul.
I know mine does. James, when you can go on public land and kill a big buck, yeah, you're accomplished.
Some of the bigger parks, the trick is to go a little deeper than the other guy because a lot of guys are, like I said earlier, lazy with it. They don't go in. But the further in you get, yeah, you're going to get the big boy.
Just watch where everybody else is going and then figure out if I was a deer and all these people were coming around me with high powered rifles, what would I do? That makes it more easier. Six says no hunting, no public land in Texas worth hunting.
The hogs, or is it because the hogs clearing everything out, or?
I think the people.
There's Critter.
Yep, critters.
Hey, Critter 9A. Get a squirrel for the dogs. Critter.
That's good hunting, man.
You ain't wrong there.
I got a Glock problem myself going on right now. I'll tell you about it another day. Ticking me off.
I guess we better go around the room, huh?
We're getting there.
Yeah, we got to start that up.
We had a good chat tonight. Yeah, we got a good topic we started off with, and I think we covered it pretty well. And lots of questions up out of that side chat there. It was rocking and rolling. This is a good night tonight.
Yeah, buddy.
I thought anyway.
I think we did all right. I hope the guys in the side chat had fun. Floridian, I think you're going to do well with a 12 gauge for home defense. I would also recommend a good pump, 18, 20 inch barrel, or a coach gun. But that pump shotgun, man, when you rack that thing,
there's no debating what's going on.
That's right. Yeah, that'll do fine. Like Mark says, Mark with a C. I've never hunted boar, wild hogs, A&8, but I will say this, that most of the guys that do tell me that they need to be small or younger if you're going to eat them, that the big ones get kind of funky. So anyway, let's start going through the room. Walter, thanks for being here tonight, man. We really enjoyed having you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, folks, all of you here in the side chat as well. It was a great night. We got a topic that we started off with, and CW up there, helped us kind of get that covered about muzzle loading and powder coating. That was a topic that had come up earlier, and it was worth talking about. There was a lot of good discussion there about the ins and outs of muzzle loading and black powder, and I appreciated hearing all of that discussion from you guys who had some expertise there. So I thank you again, Jamie, for inviting me to participate tonight. I had a great time, and folks out there in the side chat, you guys carried it tonight. You had a lot of good questions and just a lot of good discussion over there. So for me, I got some loading coming up. I've got a primer comparison that I'm going to do this next week, looking at some small rifle primers that I got a hold of weirdly versus small pistol primers. I'm going to load some rounds up and compare the velocities and whatnot with that. So that's going to come up next week. I got casting I got to do, or I don't got to do anything. I'm retired. Casting I want to do, and so we'll see some of that coming up as well.
Rub it in, buddy. Rub it in.
Yeah. So that's me. Where are we going next? Who's up next? Mock, you going to go next? Or?
All right. Guys, hunting season's upon us. It's kind of weird seeing all the fields starting to empty out. Harvest is happening. It seems a little earlier this year for some reason, but here it is. It's good to see everybody. CW, it looked great. I'm glad you're getting along well. Walter, good to see y'all. Always hot pot, Kyle and Jamie. Side chat's always hopping. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us and keeping us entertained too, because sometimes that side chat gets a little crazy. But creamy peanut butter with honey and AR-15s and 7.62 by 39. Go ahead, CW.
Good chat tonight, guys. Good comments out of the side chat for sure. As always. Don't know what's I got coming up for me for videos, but I'll think of something. Yeah, the season's coming. I'm able to hunt this year, so happy. But I'll only get out for rifle. But that's okay. That's coming up in November, so I got another month plus to heal. Yep, that's about it going on for me. I'll be casting soon. My molds are crying. I haven't done anything with them for quite a while, and they're missing me. So I got a couple of new molds to try. So we'll see how that goes. Probably have videos. Rumble. That's about it. Mr. Hot Pot, I think we skipped over you, didn't we?
No, not at all. Not at all. Man, I love Friday night because it's schooling night with my tribe. I get to learn so much. So much, I'm going to start looking into muzzle loaders now. I pass by them all the time at the LGS, and we'll stop and start looking at them. Man, it's a great chat. Great side chat. Got a good weekend coming up. I'm off tomorrow, so I'm going to go do a couple videos. And Sunday, I've got a USPSA shoot. Keeping my fingers crossed I do well in. Hopefully. And man, just thanks for having me on. Everybody have a great weekend. And always remember to live, love, laugh, and reload.
Thanks for being here, Gene. I'll tell you what, man, the more I look at them, the more those black powder revolvers interest me. I'm telling you. So, Kyle, are you there? You want to say goodnight, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm here. I want to thank everybody in the side chat. It's been a good chat. I've been kicked back listening and learning. Got a couple of notes taken down and that kind of stuff. Great to see everybody, and hope we can do it again in a week.
Very good. Good deal. Thanks, side chat. Man, y'all's questions drive what we talk about here, and I'm sorry I got a little distracted there for a while. Maybe next week Nicholas can join us. But anyway, all right, G23 is not having a live stream tomorrow night, so check out Uncle Jim at 8. Then on Tuesday, we've got the Reloading podcast. Wednesday, Chris is taking a little hiatus. So he'll be back in what? 2 weeks, I think. Gene, you know?
He said a couple weeks, man. It might be more. He's just getting real busy.
Yeah.
I believe he said December.
Oh, okay. I don't blame him. He was putting out 2-3 videos a day there for a while.
Yeah, he was burning up pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. So G won't be on tomorrow night, so he's going to make up for it by distracting us.
Distract us all you want, G.
Absolutely. So, all right. So then I guess AR's not doing much on Thursday nights anymore, and we're looking forward to Echo getting set up where he can start back on Friday nights. He's moved, so you got a little bit of a break, guys. Take a breath of air. So we're going to We're going to slide out of here and make way for Gizzard Gary coming up after this. Y'all go check him out if you're not busy. Sunday night, Foreign and Domestic on the Crazy Scotsman channel. Hopefully he'll be able to be there because he's working crazy hours. We hope the Lord blesses y'all all real good, and if he's willing, we'll see y'all back next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.
Good night, everyone.